Thank you for joining us. Welcome to another installment of History at Home. My name is Jillian, and I'm on the creative team at the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum. Though we are closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our goal is to continue to bring you history until we can reopen our doors again. Today, we're here to talk about the product in question, the tea. You really can't have the Boston Tea Party without the tea. So, let's delve into a little bit more about what is tea, where does it come from, and why it made such a big splash in Boston Harbor on December 16, 1773.
Do you not know my father, the damsel then?
Let's start with what is tea. Tea is a fragrant beverage brewed from the leaves of the Camellia sinensis plant, which is native to the continent of Asia. The distinctive quality of tea comes from the leaves' essential oils that seep flavor and caffeine into a cup of hot water. Black tea, green tea, no matter really what kind of tea, it all comes from the same plant. Where does tea come from? Now, this question can be answered in two parts. According to Chinese legend, almost 6,000 years ago, it was Emperor Shennong, also known as the Divine Farmer, who accidentally ingested a strange new herb. He claimed that it cured him from being poisoned from some other herbs that he'd been eating that day, or so the legend goes. Though many historians credit this legend as the discovery of tea, it wasn't until the 14th century, during the Ming Dynasty, when we begin to see tea drank as a beverage by pouring hot water over loose-leaf tea. In fact, it was Catherine of Braganza who married King Charles II in 1662, who's credited with making tea popular amongst the English. But for our purposes, in the 18th century, it's important to know that tea is being grown almost solely in China, specifically in the Wuyi mountain region of the Fujian province. During this time, the Chinese held the secret to growing tea, and they did not want the English officials, especially those of the United East India Company, to know how they grew one of their most profitable products. What types of tea were destroyed during the Boston Tea Party? Well, as it would have it, there were 5 different types of tea that were dumped into Boston Harbor on December 16, 1773. 3 black teas, bohea, congou, and souchong, and then 2 green teas, hyson and singlo. Now, as luck would have it, I happen to have these different teas here with me, mostly because of a personal shout out to my Uncle Joe and Aunt Patty in California. These were the teas that I was supposed to be shipping to you from our gift shop. I'm really very sorry, but it is for an educational cause. I'll get you more from our online store. Green tea leaves are dried and roasted soon after picking, maintaining their distinct green color. The quality of the tea is partly determined by how much of the stem and rough lower leaves are included in the blend. The highest quality teas would use the topmost leaves as they are delicate and mild, creating a refreshing taste. The name of this tea is after the Chinese word meaning before it rains tea. The English traders who bought the tea thought the name of this tea sounded like the name of an East India Company director, Philip Hyson. So it was marketed to English officials and Londoners as Hyson tea. This tea is the most expensive of what was destroyed and is often the favorite of Bostonians such as John Hancock and John Adams. This green tea is picked later in the season, which you can tell from its larger tea leaves. This tea gives off a buttery yellow tea infusion. Funny enough, this tea had not made its way to the colonies just yet, as it tended to spoil very quickly. The East India Company, the British tea trading company of the 18th century, had stockpiled a great excess of this singlo tea. To produce black tea, the tea leaves are allowed to sit in the sun to oxidize and wilt. Oxidization is the process in which something adds oxygen to it. For example, when iron is left to oxidize, rust forms. The tea leaves will turn dark in color as they oxidize. This also develops the tannins in the leaves, which is what creates the strong, bitter flavor that most black teas have. There were 3 different black teas destroyed during the Boston Tea Party. Now let's talk about the black teas at the Boston Tea Party. We'll start with bohea. This was named mostly in part due to the English mispronunciation of the Wuyi mountain region where the tea comes from. Most of the tea found in the British colonies and the majority of what was destroyed during our Boston Tea Party was this tea. Being the most common, it was also the least expensive. Next we have Kanju, which is a name for black tea that refers to the tea made with the highest mastery and careful skill that's used to produce this tea. Kanju has dark leaves when brewed and are often strong and pleasantly bitter. 15 chests of Kanju were destroyed during the Boston Tea Party. Finally, there's Souchong. This is the strangest smelling tea of the bunch, with a smoky aroma similar to that of a campfire. The name refers to a family of tea cultivators that existed in the famous tea-growing region of the Fujian since 1717. There were only 10 chests destroyed during the Boston Tea Party. Well, friends, that just about wraps up our teas of the Boston Tea Party. Again, please feel free to get back to us with any questions or comments that you might have. And let us know if there's anything that you want to hear about. We'll be here talking about all things Boston Tea Party during our time of closure. If you're looking for any more information or you're thinking about buying any of the teas that we discussed here today, please feel free to visit our website, which includes our online gift shop at www.bostonteapartyships.com. Thank you again for joining us, and remember to please stay safe and healthy out there. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds and practice proper social distancing. We hope to see you again as soon as we can reopen our doors at the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, huzzah!